Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ron from International Trade Council. So, thank you for attending today's webinar. The title of the webinar is How to Find the Money You're Unknowingly Leaving on the Table in Your Business. Our speaker for today is Mr. Jeffrey Schmidt. Over 35 years, he ran two agencies, Deep Sky and Agency for Earth, and he's deeply committed to making this world a better place through business and eco-education. Before we start, just to let you know, this webinar will run for like 30 to 45 minutes. And after that, you'll feel free to ask questions by typing in your question on the comment section. It's on the right-hand part of the screen. You can type in your question there, and our speaker will be glad to answer your question after the presentation. So without any further ado, I will going to give the stage to our speaker so he can also introduce himself more. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. And thank you to the International Trade Council for allowing me to be here with you today. As was said, my name is Jeffrey Schmidt, and today we're going to be talking about the money that right now almost all of you are leaving on the table in your business and putting that money in your pocket. And just a little bit about me, a little bit more about me. In the early 80s, I started my career in marketing research, doing studies for Allstate, Bank of America, Clorox, those sort of companies. By 1995, I had my own marketing company, building lead generation and marketing programs for people in the educational space, the wine industry, and basically any industry that was labeled alternative. In the 90s, I saw the impact we humans were having on the planet, so I started doing eco-education, and this eventually became a second brand called Agency for Earth. And these days, I help business people deal with all that's coming at them with COVID. That's why I created this talk, because in many industries today, the margin for error is razor thin. And in so many cases, getting your business systems optimized is more than an imperative. It's more of an imperative than simply being a good idea. So optimizing your business systems will help you take the money that right now almost all of you are leaving on the table in your business and putting it in your pocket. My suggestion is that you do not multitask or pay half attention to this seminar. It's going to be important for you. How important? Well, if you were hemorrhaging blood, you'd make a beeline to the emergency room. In this seminar, we're going to help you stop hemorrhaging money every single day that you allow your business systems to be in a state of disrepair or non-optimal function. Of course, it's your free will choice to pay close attention or not. I suggest you do. You know, most people have an inkling that they could do better in their business, and they have some ideas on how. Just one of the things I'm going to show you today, and it's going to be the first thing I'm going to show you today, is a marketing system that's been successfully implemented in over 400 different industries, everything from manufacturing to software, beauty products to accounting, everything in between. This system works with Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, startups, and you're going to see why that this business system works. Because it's based in the simple human behavior that is universal across the globe. People are smart enough to want the best deal for themselves and not the best price. So if you can explain to people how they're getting the best deal from you so that they actually understand what you are saying, they'll likely soon be your customer. So that's just one of the areas we're going to be discussing today. The marketing system. Secondly, I'm going to have you look at the two most potent forces in business and how you can harness those forces, not only for the betterment of your business, but for the betterment of humanity and the planet as well. And the third area we're going to look at today is to introduce you to a way that you can give yourself a business report card that looks at the best practices, procedures, and systems that every business needs for success so that you can grade yourself in each important area in order to change and grow those areas for the better. Okay, that's the agenda for today. And later on in the program, I'll show you how to take a deeper dive into these areas if you so choose. So let's talk about a marketing system that some people call the conversion equation. I like to think of it as a way to explain things to people so that they'll listen to you and consider what you've said and quite possibly take action. This is an elegant way of connecting with people by discussing the things they really care about. And I'm not talking about deviating from your business mission, but rather couching language in ways that people can hear you better. Now, the 4 stages of this business system are: number 1, the interrupt stage. This is where you articulate your client's problem. Number 2, this is the engage stage, where you offer them a solution to the problem that you have articulated that they're having. Number three, you educate them, you bolster your promise of a solution with educational facts. And number 4, we're going to offer you, you're going to make an offer to take one small step for them, for your prospective clients to take one small step towards you to take action. Now, this interrupt stage is misunderstood by many because we've come to think that this is the place where we need to come up with a creative slogan rather than articulate a problem. And today, this focus on creativity is widely held due to the history of advertising in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where 30-second commercials made fortunes for big companies simply because they had the budget to repeat their jingle over and over and over again. And since the big companies became successful with this strategy, almost everyone followed suit and thought that was the way to do it for success. The problem is that most companies don't have money to flood media channels with their slogan. So if you don't have an unlimited marketing budget, this section is going to be really relevant for you. Of course, there's a creative aspect to marketing communications, but the core of your marketing is to explain to people what they need to know in order to make a good decision for themselves about a particular problem. So give people credit for being smart in this way. You start by articulating their problem. Now, you do this possibly even better than they can. Now, I'll show you an example of this. In step 2, after you've articulated that problem, you promise a solution. Now, these first 2 steps speak to a person's heart, their emotions. And talking to the heart needs to happen in simple language. And this is important because you want people to take action. And engaging emotions is the best way to do that. In fact, the word emotion is just the word motion with an E in front of it. In step 3, we speak to the head, which brings to the mind, the intellect on board by talking about relevant facts. And in step 4, you offer one small way for people to take an action step towards you. This is the action that's going to help them solve their problem and help you get a client. The heart understands, the emotions understand simple concepts. So we start simple. Then we get the mind on board by reviewing facts. Step 1 is critical. If you don't articulate the pain of your prospect, you're not going to get to second base. The better you know your client problems, the better you can explain it. When you articulate their issue well, you'll endear yourself to people. I'm going to show you an example of this. And simply because you articulated their problem, they're thinking you're going to be able to solve that problem. So let me ask you this. If your product is designed to serve your client, and it ought to be, or else people aren't going to pay you any money if you can't serve them in some way, why would not your marketing be designed for the very same goal, to serve people? Most people think marketing is about promotion. Is your marketing messaging designed to help people understand things so that they can make a better decision? Excuse me, so that they can be served? Or is it designed to make you more money? This next slide is perhaps the most important one you're going to see today. Steve Jobs, owner of Apple, took nothing, a company that was not in existence, and made it into the biggest company on the planet. He knows something about human behavior. He says that people can tell if you're in it just to make a buck. People can tell by your messaging where you're going with it, what you're doing with it. When you start to unpack what Steve Jobs is talking about here, it'll resonate far beyond your marketing messaging. Steve Jobs understood at a visceral level that people can tell where you're coming from in your business and your marketing and your life. People are smart. Give them credit for being smart, and it'll do wonders for your marketing. So decide right now to help people make the best possible decision for themselves in your marketing, and people will pick that up. And when you do this, you'll be rewarded with more sales, loyalty, and taking the profits that right now you're most likely leaving on the table in your business and putting them into your pocket. So before the age of slogans, marketing was about educating people so that they could make a good buying decision. And now we're back to the education, because one of the buzzwords today is content. My question to you is, what is the quality of your content in terms of promoting your company versus helping people make good decisions for themselves? People can tell where you're going with this. When I work with people, I often ask them to explain how they help people. And way more often than not, people stumble badly at this point. So many people put so much work into making their product or service help people, and then come up with a few slogans on how to explain how it all works. And let me tell you, this doesn't work. The good news is that if you follow this formula that I've just laid out, and work hard to make it convey helpful information, while also making it very simple for people to understand, your messaging can be as good as your product or service. Now, when I ask people about their marketing, they usually talk about their Google or Facebook ads, and this is the medium, not the message. Your message is almost always far, far more important than the medium. And this 4-step process is going to help you come up with a workable, if not a great, message system for your company. It starts with interrupting the train of the thought of the people that you think your product or service might help. That's fine if it's a short slogan. What's more important is that it describes and articulates a relevant pain point for these people. Now, let me give you an example. A psychologist came to us wanting his website to get him more sales. So you see here that he has the same old message that most people have. He's talking about himself. And he's talking about what he does in this column right here. And what we did for him, I call that the wee-wees because it's talking about yourself, what we do and all that. So on the right-hand slide, here you see how we reframed what was going on. We focused on one problem that people were having. Clients with other issues came to this doctor because they thought that if this guy knew this issue so well, he'd know about their problem too. A messaging change like this can double or even tenfold increase your leads from your website. And I want you to see how the headline speaks directly to the moms and dads who have the problem of an unruly child. This headline is saying something absolutely relevant to them. It's not talking about the psychologist. So even if they're on another train of thought, this headline will likely interrupt them. And then notice how the subhead, now we can cover the secrets of controlling your child and instantly restore peace to your home. This promises a solution. And the body copy and the revamped video backs up the promise for a solution with factual data to get the mind on board. And then there's an offer to take one small step. Download the free booklet of high relevance. Take one small step toward that person, toward that company. Here we can see we're selling to the heart and the emotions first, and then making sure the mind is on board with facts. This step-by-step approach is going to be the solution to many of your marketing problems if you have marketing problems. You simply have to know your clients well enough to know what their hot buttons are. And then craft a message aimed right at their problem. A lot of people today have a bad case of what I call the wee-wees. That sounds like we focus on quality. We have the latest methods. We know what we're doing. We're nice people, and we have the lowest prices. With the marketing system I'm describing, you're going to be finally free of competing on price. These are the marketing basics every business should know. I'm guessing a good amount of you are up to speed on this. But if you don't have this methodology down cold, you're leaving chunks of money on the table in your business. So please write down any questions you have for this section. And at the end, we'll have a few minutes to take questions. In our next section, we're going to get a little bit more subtle. So if the first part of this seminar is about what you are saying to your client, the next part is about how you are saying it. In this section, we're going to be talking about the two most important forces of business, and these are the human element of business. We are humans selling to other humans, but we are in business and we have to have systematic functions. Every business needs these. We're going to be talking about the intersection of these two forces and how to infuse all of your business systems across the board with the magic of the human element. Let me give you just one small example. Now, your marketing systems exist to help you realize what I call the birds of a feather effect. Now, this helps you align with and connect with the people who are naturally your customers, the people who love you, your product, and what you stand for. These are the people that are going to pay you top dollar and give you the least amount of problems and provide word of mouth advertising for you. These are the most profitable clients you're going to have. I like to call this the birds of a feather effect. Other people call it defining your target market. Now, that's how I was taught, that defining your target market was the way to talk about this. These days, the word avatar is used a lot. There's a problem with that language because People don't like to be targeted or referred to as an avatar. It is objectifying and dehumanizing. Ladies and gentlemen, words are powerful. The more you use connective words, even behind closed doors, the more you will attract people that you want. And let me tell you, when you refer to any person or group with respect, you program your heart and your mind to relate with those people better. The more you couch your language, even your internal company language that nobody else hears, in ways that are humanizing, the more you're going to connect with the kind of people who want what you offer. Now, this is a subtle thing, but I have never, ever heard a business person say to a client that they have been targeted, because that language would be offensive. And language counts even when it's behind closed doors. I was working with a client the other day, and she sent me some copy that sounded like an ad. Generally, people don't like advertising that sounds like an ad. You want to talk as a person to another person in your marketing. And when I told her this sounded like an ad, she paused and she reflected on it, and she said, you're right. And she could see the off-putness contained in that messaging. Humanizing your business systems, especially communication, even in your internal communication, brings you closer to your clients. And that allows you to put more money into your pocket that you're now leaving on the table. Sales and marketing are especially important in these areas because people can tell, like Steve Jobs says, if you're trying to push or maneuver or otherwise herd them into a sale. And people don't like that. People like their free will choices to be honored and respected. And here's a very relevant example for most of us. I recently bought an expensive medical device and had some problems with it. The salesperson that I spoke with originally was maneuvering me toward a sale a little bit. Not horrible, about what I've come to expect, which of course is a problem. But then after I bought the device, when the battery didn't operate right, the customer service rep was a little resistant to me returning the device. Again, not horrible, about what I've come to expect. And these were good people. But somehow they got the idea that maneuvering and resisting is how people are supposed to act at their job. And I was persistent enough for them to kick it upstairs to one of the owners. And I wish each of you could see and feel the conversations that I had with each of these three people. From the low levels of maneuvering with the sales guy who's trying to get me to buy, and the low levels of resistance from the customer service rep trying to get me to not return the device, to the absolute breath of fresh air that I experienced with the owner. His concern for how I felt as a person was palpable. I could feel that he wanted what was best for me, and it made me an instant fan of his company. The owner and I had a great talk as two human beings, and I want to buy the product again when they get their batteries fixed. This is the magic of the human factor in business. I wish you all could have listened in to those three conversations. This experience backs up what a Walker research study found a couple of years ago, which was that customer experience has now surpassed price and product in terms of brand differentiation, a key metric. And the reason is clear. Companies like Apple, Bose, Sony, and Honda have set the bar so high for people that we now expect a great product at a fair price. What comes next is how you feel you're being treated during the transaction. This is going to put money in your pocket. And the research shows that human feelings about businesses extend far beyond a transaction. What comes after is how people feel about you and your company as an actor on a stage where it is now obvious that we need individuals and companies to step up to help people and planet in meaningful ways. And to put this simply, people want price. They want a great product at a fair price. They want to be treated with personal respect during the transaction, and they want the people that they're doing business with to be part of the greater solution to the problems we're facing in the world today. This is called voting with dollars, and people are doing more and more of this. You can choose to benefit from this or not. It's your choice. Businesses today are being asked to deliver way more than any other generation of business owners and managers has in the past. We're being asked by our prospects and our clients to deliver a great product at a fair price and then intersect with our business systems with a deep sense of humanity in both the transaction and in a broader societal and social sense as a part of the solution to the problems we're facing. Here are some facts to back this up. 83% of millennials want brands to align with them on their values, and 76% of those want the CEOs of those companies to speak out on issues that they care about. In his book, Blessed Unrest, Paul Hawken talks about the largest social movement in human history. This is affecting business people. He says this movement is about healing people a planet. He likens this movement to antibodies in a bloodstream coming forth to combat a disease. He states that this movement is a leaderless movement. It has more human energy than any other movement in human history. Obviously, this is changing markets and how people think. Conscious capitalism. If you've ever been to a conscious capitalism event, you'll hear about the multiple studies listed in the book Firms of Endearment that says that purpose-driven companies outperform rivals by a factor of 600 to 1,000%, 6 to 10 times better. Allow me to point out that this is hard evidence that if you're in it for the money, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. But don't get pigeonholed into thinking your purpose must be a people or planet option. For instance, Steve Jobs' purpose was to create technological art forms to serve people well. And he did a good job with it. The B Corp movement is the legislative side, very important. In the past, if you were a publicly held company and you made and the board made a decision other than profit, they can be sued by the shareholders. A B Corp takes that away. Impact investing. Impact investing forums are popping up all over, and they are proof that a lot of money is lining up to fund people and planet-friendly companies. If you have a greater purpose in mind and a well-defined business plan, you can likely get funding. Every generation, millennials in the lead, are highly motivated to working with companies that want to make this world a better place. And the reason is clear. They're going to inherit this world. So paying attention to the human side of your business systems puts money in your pocket by saying yes to the wishes of your prospective clients. And my guess is that Many of you are aware of these issues and have traveled down these roads I've described here, at least a little bit. But there's one more thing. There's another aspect to the human factor of business that not a lot of people talk about, and this is the higher power aspect. And the story of how I got going in business years ago sums this up nicely. In the late 80s, I built my business on cold call selling. I didn't have a lot of money, so cold call was the option I chose. I went to seminars to teach me how to do this, and the seminar teachers said that what you have to do is right up front, you have to ask for the decision maker right up front because you don't want to waste any of your precious time. Incidentally, I still get calls using this outmoded method today. Now, this method sets into motion a dynamic of defensiveness and hostility on the part of people answering the phone. And this negative reaction in people was predictable, and I was getting beat up emotionally every day. The way I was doing things stirred up so much ill feeling. It was hard on my emotions, on my psyche, getting beat up like that every day. But there was no way I was going to quit. One day I was so battered that I lay my head down in my arm, which is resting on the table. My arm was resting on the table, and I dragged myself to dial another number. I never forget it. A perky lady answered, and the following sentence fell out of my mouth. Could you please tell me the best way to introduce my marketing company to you? And she said, oh, that would be Mr. So-and-so, and he's usually here by 8 if you want to call back in the morning. Wow. I perked up and noticed several things right away. Number one, this lady was not defensive, annoyed, or outright rude to me. How refreshing. Now, with this respectful opening line, I was actually directed to the decision maker. Instead of this opening line, 90% of the people being annoyed with me, 90% of the people were now okay with me. And they knew it was a sales call. But since it was done respectfully, they were okay with it. This made all the difference in helping me build my business. Now, it was only later that I came to realize I didn't figure this out. I didn't weigh inputs, form a conclusion, didn't think about it or analyze it. It was gifted to me. Grace gave me this line. Just fell out of my mouth. Now, if the words divine grace don't work for you, substitute something else. If you're more for the science, you can call it quantum or zero-point field resonance. I know some of you might be rolling your eyes right now, but for those of you who are, let me say that people who've worked closely with Steve Jobs, they all had this little word they called him. They said he had a reality distortion field because somehow he magically changed reality and made the impossible happen so often. So Steve Jobs said that we can shape reality into our liking, but we have to work at it. And the reports are he was a workaholic. So please take this as you like. I'm getting better at allowing this grace to come into my life and my business. And it really is like magic. Ladies and gentlemen, the signs are lining up to say that we need another way to run our world. And this needs to have deep humanity baked into the recipe at every level. This obviously has to happen with businesses. That's why I was put here on Earth. And the good news is there's a lot of evidence that shows that these are the types of businesses that are succeeding now, right now, today. The conscious capitalism numbers are evidence that markets are rewarding people who are building this new way for us to make a living and not a killing. Now, we've talked about businesses today being asked to do more than ever before. And we've seen evidence that purpose-driven companies get the benefit of having customers vote for their dollars, vote with their dollars for good companies. Folks, we've talked about how all that brings you to taking the money off the table that you're right now leaving on there, probably. Please jot down any questions that you have as we're going to be moving on to the business report card section. And we have 10 minutes to wrap this up. Now, with a business report card, I show people specifically where they are leaving money on the table in their business so they can put that cash in their pocket. And I do this by walking them through the most important business systems and processes that every business needs for success. We've just talked about one in the beginning. Then we talk about the optimal functioning of that process. And then I ask people to estimate how good they are doing in each category. And this is a revelation to business owners because it shows in stark detail, by their own estimation, how good their business is doing and where it needs work. The report card starts out as a conversation about some highly misunderstood best practices, like the one we just talked about, and flows naturally into a reality check. It's much needed, what we're going through today. Because without accurate and specific information on how you're doing, most business owners have a bad feeling in the pit of their stomach. And the report card fixes that problem by providing information about where people are at and the direction needed for success. When business systems start to turn around, you can feel it, and it's great to be a part of. Let's take a quick overview of the subject heads of a business report card to see what the business report card offers. So in my business report card, in the management part, this is where you figure out where you're going and how you are going to get there. Now, if I have time, I'll go into more detail on this, but it looks like we're going to run out of time. The next is leadership. This is where you find the edges of personal growth in yourself and your team. And the watchwords are interpersonal safety, inspiration, and fun. And you know, when I was talking about the sales pressure and resistance that I was feeling in the example, if you want to change this in your company, this leadership piece is the way to do that. Marketing. We talked about how you define the problem that you help solve for people, possibly even better than they can. Marketing is also the territory of the all-important first impression. It's very important. Now, sales, I call the sales the don't screw it up zone, because if you have a good lead from your marketing, that person may not be ready to buy yet. They might be in just the awareness stage where they're just coming into possibly thinking about this, or the information gathering stage. You want to help them in either of those stages. At the end, when they're deciding who to work with, you want to help them there too. Create communication tools for each stage that helps your potential customer and allows you to keep in touch with them. If you're selling on the web, you'll run into the term UX, or user experience, which, if done right, walks people through these stages. If people are in the first two stages of buying, help them resolve their lack of awareness or lack of information issues. That's going to be your best bet. And then we're going to talk about client retention, making sure that people receive full value from your product or service. This brings them happy, it makes them happy clients. We're talking about onboarding, showing them how things work, managing their expectations. And then when people naturally express happiness, gathering testimonials. The numbers scorecard, your financials, you obviously have to take care of. And two of the key KPIs, key performance indicators that I like the most, are how much it costs to get a client and the average life value of a client. You shouldn't spend more than a third of your average life value of a client on getting a client. 20% is a good number, is an okay number. 10% is an even better number, obviously. So we are at about time. So let me take a real fast run through the management piece. Okay, so some people don't really have a connection with their purpose, but they've got values and they've got vision, and your purpose, values, and vision all lead you to your numeric goals. And the numeric goals are important because you need to be able to track where you're at on the way to getting to your vision. Your goals require planning. Now, planning utilizes your resources, your time and effort and energy and money. Your resources enable your execution. Your execution brings you results. Your results beg for analysis, and your analysis yields you intelligence, and your intelligence makes you a smarter business person over time. I went through that really fast. This is what happens when we actually go to the store, folks. We have a vision that we need something to eat. We have a goal. We have a shopping list. The complexity comes when we're trying to build something that doesn't exist anymore, or trying to build something of high complexity. But this is the process of managing your business. So a big issue that I see is that it gets to be so much that it overwhelms people, and they get overwhelmed, and now they're out of the game. You have to do something called, the psychologists call self-regulation. You stay in the game. If you show up every day and stay in that game, you're going to win in your business. Okay, so let me do a quick close here. And we've covered a lot. Earlier in the program, I said I'd show you a way to take a deeper dive in this, and here it is. This is a way to get a hold of me. If you go to my website, you can download my free book, watch the free video on my website. You can go to my Calendly on my website. If the times in the Calendly don't match yours, just send me an email. Take a screenshot of this page if you need it. Okay. We're good for questions. It's been a privilege for me to be here with you today, and I want to thank the International Trade Council again. And looks like we have 17 minutes for questions.
All right. Thank you so much for that very interesting presentation, Mr. Schmidt. So yes, we are going to accept questions right now. If you have any question, please feel free to type in your question on the Q&A portion of this platform. So I'm just getting a feedback here that it's very informational. Yeah, just type in your question now. We have a few minutes to for the questions. So I'll just type in his email address here so you can copy it. Is it Jeffrey?
Yep.
Okay. So if you would like to reach out to him directly, this is his email address. This is an email address you can reach out. I type it in so you can copy it. All right, so any question, guys? Please feel free to type in your questions.
You know, a thought just came into my head, and then it just left. But this can be overwhelming to people, folks. I mean, managing a business in this day and age, things are changing. The game is getting quicker, folks. And and you've got to get really good at staying up and staying on pace with what's going on, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And humanity is going through a big awakening right now because of the situation that we're in the world.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but there's one question here. Are you
Please,
on the comment section?
let me get there.
Please, how do one handle difficult customer when it comes to sales?
Say again, please.
How to handle a difficult customers when it comes to sale?
Um, so a lot of times I ask relatively upfront in the sales process, I ask people why they chose to have the conversation with me that we're having right now. And that if they answer that truthfully, it could mean that they're not really that interested. It could mean that they're in the awareness stage and they really don't want to be pressured. A lot of times, a problem comes up because we, the salespeople, are actually trying to pressure people. If we can get from them where they're at, if they're just coming upon your product or service and they don't really have a footing to make a decision, trying to push them into that decision is going to put pressure on them that's not healthy. In sales, you have to be able to put pressure on, yes, but the pressure of that's healthy is when people have to make a decision for themselves, and you're trying to. Let me get out of this. Okay, and you're trying to help them, and if they can feel that you're trying to help them, it'll ease a lot of that resistance that they're feeling, because quite probably the resistance that you're picking up from your client is resistance to you trying to maneuver them into a sale. And I know this is bad news for most people because we've been trained to push and maneuver people. I tried to bring this out, but this is such a hard thing to get to know, to wrap your head around, because it's so ingrained in us to do it a certain way. We're supposed to be promoting our product, not helping people. But Steve Jobs said people can tell what's going on with you. So keep that in mind and try to find out. You can ask them, are you just coming on this? Are you just, kind of in the awareness stage, or are you looking for different information about which is the best, solution for you, or are you, further on down the road than that? You're really looking for a company to work with. And I would, in a lot of cases, I would be just very upfront with what's going on, and people will usually react to that really well. And a lot of times you go, shucks, but because you didn't get a sale, but you wouldn't have gotten it anyway. And if you'd have pushed them into the sale, a lot of times they'll take the product back anyway.
All right. So, any other questions?
Difficult clients.
Okay. So, I don't see any more questions here, sir.
Okay.
Well, maybe before we end the session, I can give you a few minutes so that you can have your closing remarks and any final words to the attendees before we end the session.
Just to recap, folks, the world is changing. This is not a mystery. This is backed up by many, many studies. And we need to respond to that. And how we respond to that is it makes all the difference in the success we have in our business or the non-success that we have in our business. And so people want a humanized business. You can see it everywhere. People want to be treated with respect. We know this. We absolutely know this. So when you humanize your business, it's not just a goody two-shoe event. It's actually the best way to build your company because you're reaching out to help people. As the one slide said, your marketing, your business plan is about how you help people. Your marketing plan should be how you explain how you help people, which should be a helping of its own variety, the communication part. So it's it gets down to that level of simplicity. There's all this complication. There's all these things. You got to put Facebook ads on. But if you come out with a message that isn't helpful, people can tell. And if it's out on the web that goes out to the world, that simply magnifies a non-optimal message. You really have to optimize your message. You really have to humanize your message. You really have to care about people because people can tell if you're in it just to make a buck. And we know this. We absolutely know this. And we know that the world has to change from business as usual, the way it's been done for years and years and years. And people are asking for this change. People are wanting for this change. If you can be a part of that change, it'll be really good for your company, folks. Really good for your company. And really good for you and really good for the planet. That's what people want. They want the whole package. They want a great product. They want a fair price. They want to be treated with respect. They want their where they're at in the buying process to be honored and respected, wherever that may be. And then they want to deal with people who are involved in making the world a better place, because we need that. The statistics are there to back this up. It's just how to do it in your company, how best to do that in your company. The conversion equation is the most elegant marketing system I've seen. I've been in this game for 35 years. But you have to get it right. You really have to get it right. And the caring enough to know your customers well and to know what their problems are is a level of business that is being yearned for by people. Give them what they want, folks. Just give them what they want.
All right. So thank you so much for that very interesting presentation, sir. So everyone, I would like to thank you for attending today's event. Again, if you would like to reach out to him directly, email address is here. You can send him an email using this email address, or you can send me an email as well. You can email ITC and we'll definitely give his contact information. So again, thank you for attending the event, and we look forward seeing you again in the next webinar. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye, guys.
Bye.